who's recording all this. He's the one. I think I said 427 earlier for Socrates. That would give us a very young Socrates. Plato, 427. What is it? 346? 347. So he's the one. He's in his late 20s. When Socrates is executed. As a result, he's there. Now, apparently, we think, scholars, historians, philosophers, historians of philosophy, think that before that, Plato was actually one of the musicians. He's going to have a negative opinion of music later. I'll talk why about that. But he was one of the, part of the musicians crowd. Remember the musical artists, the poets, were one of the groups that indicted Socrates? And he was probably part of that crew. And that was the crew. Meletus in the Apology was the one that was the strong. He was the one that was like, death penalty, please. Okay, the leader of the poets and the musicians. And so Plato was there when Socrates was executed. And Plato's takeaway from this is, you know what my view on democracy is? It just killed an innocent man. Because Athens is a democracy. It's one of the earliest democracies. It's where we get our word democracy. It's Greek, demokritos. You know what democracy does? It kills people. It just did. So Plato has a very negative view of democracy. And he just takes some time off after this. Apparently he goes around exploring the Mediterranean. However, he meets a bunch of those pre-Socratic crews out there. Remember the Eleatics, the Pythagoreans? And he stays with them. He just goes on all right, Socrates was all about wisdom. Let me go on a wisdom quest. That's what I'm going to do. And the ones that influence him the most are, one, the Pythagoreans. They're all about math and numbers. Geometry is awesome for Plato. He's just like, yeah, you're right. And there's things that we know about geometry that don't make sense. We don't know how we know them. Okay, we're able to figure things out. I remember, I'm trying to remember how long ago this was. I want to say it was like 6 months ago. Do you remember there was a young woman on TikTok that was asking questions about, what is math? Where does it come from? Anybody remember this? It was being a big deal like 6 months ago. I'll see if I can find it. Posted on Blackboard.
I was just doing my makeup for work, and I just wanted to tell you guys about how I don't think math is real. And I know that, it's real because we all, learn it in school or whatever, but who came up with this concept? And you're like, Pythagoras. But how? How did he come up with this? He was living in, I don't know, whenever he was living, but it was not now, where you can, have technology and stuff, you know? He didn't even have plumbing. And he was like, let me worry about y equals mx plus b. Which, first of all, how would you even figure that out? How would you, start on the concept of algebra? What did you need it for? You know? Because, I get, addition. Hey, if I take 2 apples and then add 3, it's 5, you know? But how would you come up with the concept of, algebra? Because what would you need it for? You know what I mean? What would you need it for back then? You didn't need it, so why would you come up with it?
She was asking really good questions about who invented math. How do people figure this stuff out? How did they figure this out in the ancient world? Because I don't know about you, but even for simple arithmetic, anybody still get out a calculator? Just double check here. But how did, in the ancient world, are they developing things like, we know how tall the pyramid is without climbing it. We can use that's what the Pythagorean theorem was used for. They would do things like, how tall is the pyramid? Well, we can't climb straight up next to it. You can imagine that pair of stilts. If we climb the ladder, we're getting this angle of it, so how do we figure it out? Here's your little pyramid there. When the sun is at a certain point, what you can do is you see where the shadow goes, and then you're able to extrapolate, that hypotenuse here, that c squared, that's how tall it is, just based on the shadow. We don't have to do any climbing. The beauty of math. But the Pythagoreans, they're really into mathematics. It's everywhere. It can explain everything. Not definitively, but it's in everything. And there's some stuff that we can just know. And we're really good at recognizing shapes in nature, things like that, looking at lines, measuring things. And we can kind of measure a bunch of stuff by using our minds, like that, where it makes things easier if you just stop and think about it. But we have to stop and think about it. And fortunately, we stand on the shoulders of giants, so to speak, where most of us aren't inventing our math theorems, but we have a legacy of thousands of years and all these cultures all over the world that have done a lot of work for us that enable us to be able to use our calculators on our phone. But Plato sees it then. This is awesome. It's great. So he's influenced by, he's spent some time with them. You also spend some time with the Eleatics, the Parmenides fan club. Remember? Change is an illusion. There's no such thing as nothing. Now, the main thing there that you get, these people who say there's no such thing as change, this world's an illusion. I don't know. Like, that sounds cool, but that doesn't seem very obvious. It looks like, when I see a chair over there, there's a chair over there. Like, no, nothing is real. No, really, I can go over here. I'm in motion right now. I can touch it. Is that still an illusion? The Eleatics would say yes, because this entire physical world is illusory. All right, you're on to something. But that seems like a too bold of a position. And then he also spends time with the Ephesians, the Heracliteans, who on the other hand say, everything's changing all the time. The contrary position, everything's in flux. Everything's always changing. Nothing is permanent. Everything's always in motion. Plato says, all right, but they got a point too. They seem in opposition with each other, but I think it seems like we can say, like, okay, sometimes, yeah, it seems like everything's in motion, everything's fluctuating, and then other times it seems like everything's permanent. What Plato's going to do is actually combine this stuff with a little Socrates. And this happens in philosophy and the history of ideas, where people are responding to different things, and they put these different trajectories, different threads together in kind of a tapestry of their own thing, which is what makes Plato is what I would consider a systematic thinker. And by that I mean someone who's taking all these different idea streams and putting it together. It's analogous to someone in music taking different genres and putting them together just right. So what happens is he eventually comes back to Athens after going on these marvelous adventures around the Mediterranean. He has an uncle named Academe. And he goes to his uncle Academe and he says, "Uncle, I'd like to start a school, devoted to Socrates, but also devoted to all these other traditions. And there will be a sign above the school, supposedly. There's no direct evidence of this, but centuries later it was said, the sign above the school said, like in the doorway, here we have stuff all over campus where it says random words that actually come from Greek philosophy. Virtue, excellence, character. All these are incomplete sentences. What do you mean by this? Right? What they had here, above the school is going to say, let no one here enter who is ignorant of geometry. Catchy. But the idea was, you're into math, this is the place for you. Okay, now it's not a mathnasium, but there's the idea here that you gotta at least have respect for that kind of thinking. He names the school after his uncle that he got it from. So his uncle Academe, Plato's school, the Academy. The term seem familiar to you? Yeah, academics, school stuff, right? Comes from Plato's uncle. Okay, all right, fine. Start a school. We'll name it after you. Kind of like when we have buildings named after people, like the Penland Building is named after a Penland. This building's not named after anybody. Yet. It'll happen at some point. The Academy. So this is Plato's school. What are we going to teach here? Plato's thought. All right, so this is my school, and I'm going to explicate my philosophy, my view. And after going on all these quests, Plato comes up with some general positions that I want to go over. So I'm going to talk about his attitudes on things, and then I'm going to talk about his systematic philosophy. So first of all, let's talk about his attitudes. And this is all in this ways as well. So if you have that, you can have that in front of you right now, if you wanted to. Let's see. What does Plato not like? So let me start with what he doesn't like. 8 things, in no particular order. These are things Plato does not like. This is generalized. I'll say this too, as a comment about Plato. Plato also, since he's a systematic thinker, he's also one of these thinkers where if you want to get Plato, there's not really one place in his work where you can go. You kind of have to take all of it. This is true with some film directors or musicians. You can't just be like, nah, you can't just talk about this record. You have to talk about their entire discography. Plato's like that. Like, if you want to get Plato, you really need to read a lot of Plato, because he doesn't have like, remember we've already looked at the Euthyphro, where it's this dialogue, so that's what he does. Everything's like a play. He doesn't ever come out and just say anything. You have to kind of figure it out for yourself. What would that mean? English has about 10 prefixes that mean not, right? Impossible. Impossible means something's not possible. Okay, insane, I-N, means somebody's not sane. Okay, unsafe means something is not safe. And we have more. We also have suffixes that mean it. If I say something's worth less, does it have any worth? No. And the list goes on. We have irregular, IR, not regular. Well, we've got a lot of those. Greek, fortunately, has one. You say something, and you stick the letter alpha on the front. It means not. So, a, space, theist, is someone who believes in some sort of divine being. Thus, the Greek word theos means God. That's where we get theology. It means God, the divine. Not just a monotheistic God. It's even a word for like Zeus. It even comes from the same root as Zeus. See that theos, Zeus. Same etymological root. All right, but any kind of God. Plato says you should be a theist. And here's what it means. It doesn't mean, he is not saying, do you have a personal relationship with your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Obviously, Plato does not mean that because that's not a thing yet. We've got a couple centuries to go before we're there. But just, there has to be something else out there. Something above, something transcendent, something divine. And he's not saying that it's a person either. Whether it be the triune God or Allah or Hashem. None of that. Something celestial and majestic. People that don't believe in that are wrong. And some of these are, remember that group, the sophists we talk about? Some of these are meant to hit the sophist dead on. And pre-Socratic philosophy. Well, let me say his responses here. How does he respond to atheism? With theism. You should believe in the divine. It certainly doesn't imply an Abrahamic understanding of the divine, like in a Christian, Jewish, or Islamic way. So he responds to atheism with theism. Relativism. Relativism with regard to aletheia. Aletheia, what's that? Truth. The word for truth in Greek, aletheia, it means not the left. What's the left? Okay, it's a weird way of talking about truth, but there's a beauty to this. In Greek mythology, when you would go to the underworld, there's a river you would cross, the Lethe River, where you would forget. So what is truth? Literally it means that which cannot be forgotten. But when it comes to truth, people like Protagoras would say, what is truth? Well, man is the measure of all things, what we say it is. What's true? What is true is whatever I make it. Plato, on the other hand, wants to maintain some absolutism. By that I mean, truth is true. It doesn't fluctuate. It's permanent. That kind of sounds like the Eleatics a little bit. A bit. So truth is something that's permanent and doesn't change. Okay, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Always! Now, if we get there, we might talk about how that's not exactly true, depending on what you mean by it. He would say truth is always true. It's like, if murder is wrong, it's always wrong. It's not right on Tuesdays and wrong on Wednesdays. Okay, which is what relativism would hold. But the sophists would say, remember, we can argue, we'll take any position and argue it for you. All right, we'll prove anything to be true. Truth is permanent. Truth is fixed. It doesn't change. If murder is wrong, it's always wrong. If God is good, all right, there's something like goodness. Goodness is always what it is. Justice is always justice. It doesn't change and doesn't fluctuate. And we still come up with this. This still comes up today with, like, if we talk about something being wrong a couple hundred years ago. Oh, things were different back then. Plato would say, no. Wrong is always wrong. And if you go, well, no, things were different at that time, that's relativism. But what's right doesn't change. Not what's normal or what's considered popular. Sure, that changes. But what's right never changes. Hedonism. Hedonism is the view that what's good is what feels good. As succinctly as I can put it, if it feels good, do it. That kind of attitude. That feels good. It must be right. Do what feels good. Plato doesn't like that. Well, and hedonism is further the view, moral hedonism is the view that if it feels good, it is good. Not just, you should probably do that. It is good. And Plato says, no. Why would he say no to that? Is pleasure bad? Not in and of itself, perhaps. But the idea that it's good would mean that if something feels good, there's no way it could be bad. Are there things that could feel good that we would still say are wrong to do? Yes. But if you're a committed hedonist, you'd have to say, well, did it feel good when the person did it? Well, then it must be good. Plato's saying that commits you to some positions I don't think you want to endorse. Okay, so pleasure just can't be the good itself. It has to be something other than that. There has to be goodness itself. Mechanism. That doesn't sound bad. What's mechanism? Mechanism is the belief, it's the view that the universe is just a machine. The universe just works on its own, doesn't depend on anything. It's almost like the innards of an old school clock. Why is that bad? Now, the universe has a function. There's a reason for everything. So he maintains, no, there's teleology, which is just a fancy word. The Greek word for telos means like the end target, the goal, what you're shooting for. So teleology means really talking about getting to the end, making it to the goal. The universe is just a big mechanism, just a big machine. It's doing stuff without any reason. There's no purpose to anything. Nothing matters. If we think about this too much, we get depressed. Nothing matters, nothing's real. No, things matter. There's a purpose and a plan to the universe. We here have a purpose. The universe has a purpose. And then, let's see, empiricism. Empiricism is the belief that knowledge comes to us through our senses. You learn through what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, and what you touch. That's what knowledge is. For the empiricist, Plato says, no. Because your senses lie to you. You ever had phantom experiences through your senses? See something that's not there, hear something that's not there. You can close your eyes and picture things. Where's the picture happening? It's not your eyeballs. What's going on? So Plato would say here, your senses can be mistaken. So actually how we learn is not through our senses, because they lie to us. It's through rationalism. Rationalism is the belief, on the other hand, in opposition to this, that it's not that knowledge comes to us through our senses. Our senses lie to us. Knowledge comes to us by using our minds, by thinking. It's not just the data, raw data coming in through your sensory apparatus. Your mind puts that together. Obviously, he has no concept of brain, okay, cognizing, but this notion of mind. I'm sorry, did someone say something here? I'm hearing things. Okay. I didn't mean to prove Plato's point, but I think I just did. So our mind puts things together. And like, especially with stuff like that mathematics, there's so much that's going on, not from, I smell numbers. No. It's not something that you use. You don't use your senses when you deal with, like, show me a 1. I don't mean a symbol for a 1. Right? I don't mean like this or this. Where is 1? The concept. That's just it. It's a concept. It's real, but it doesn't physically exist. How could that be? Because rationalism's true. Our minds think, and that's where knowledge comes from. Go on a quest. Go ahead. Try and find 1 itself. That's what Pythagoras was onto something with this number stuff. Him too. Remember the 1 for the Eleatics? Go on a quest. Try and find. We use it all the time. Here's 1 marker. I see the marker. Where's the oneness? You're not going to find it because it's a concept that exists. It's not in the mind, but we have access to it from the mind. A modern rationalist might say the knowledge is here. Plato's actually not going to say the knowledge is here. Where's the knowledge? There. And we'll look at that in a moment. Because the next thing I want to talk about is this package deal. I put this in a package. I bracketed these. Why? Because I said, when I was talking about the pre-Socratics, I said generally these are their positions. Materialism, naturalism, monism. Plato says, nope. But they all kind of fit together. So instead of materialism, we could say actually monism and materialism, they're contrary, kind of sync up into one thing. Naturalism, that would be the view that everything is in nature. There's just a self-contained nature. Everything that goes on within nature, that's it. The sphere of influence, there's nothing outside that. Supernaturalism, on the other hand, is the stuff, there's the universe, and there might be stuff outside it. Okay, maybe there's other dimensions. Maybe there's other beings out there. Maybe that's where the divine is. God might not be in the universe, but he might be outside of it, influencing it. And that there's outside influences on the universe. That's what supernaturalism is. Generally speaking. So that could be everything from gods to goblins. Materialism, what was that? The universe is only matter. There's only physical stuff. And monism, there's only one stuff in the universe. Whether it be water or air or what have you. Plato says, no, both of those are wrong. There's not just matter, and it's not just one thing. There's dualism. What does dualism mean? There's 2 things. What 2 things? Well, with materialism, you got half right. There is matter. There is physical stuff. Look at your body. It's made out of matter. In addition to matter, you all have, like you've got your body, this corporeality. It's not just that you have your mind. You have they would use the word psyche, soul. That's actually where we get our word psychology. Psyche, you have a soul. Is soul made of matter? No. It's immaterial. It's made out of a different stuff. Like your body's made out of stuff. But immaterial is non-physical stuff. That's what we mean by immaterial. What does it mean to be non-physical? You can't measure it. I can't get out a yardstick and go, how big is your soul? How much does it weigh? You can't do that. Because immaterial substances have no measurability. But they exist, says Plato. So you got a body and you got a soul. And both those things are real. And so the universe is both those things. It's both the material and the immaterial. That's what dualism is. So it's not just one thing, and there's not just matter. There is matter, but that's not all there is. And so this core that I have up here, those three, really is almost the total rejection of what the pre-Socratics were after. Oh, it's water, it's air, it's fire. Please. It's both. So now what I want to do is explain how this puts together. So this is a general overview. How does he put this together? All right, so what's the universe look like? So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to Plato's picture of the universe. But I want to say this about Plato. He doesn't come out and say something in one spot. Let me say this about his writings first. Got 3 eras of his writing. And so when I say Plato says this, it's almost like I kind of got to tell you what era we're talking about. Because the early stuff is different from the middle stuff, which is different from the late stuff. It's like we're talking about Bob Dylan, James Brown, and Madonna. Okay, a bunch of different eras where they're doing very different things. So what's early Plato doing? That youth of this stuff. It's just Socrates. Like, here's what Socrates did. That's his early career. Middle career. He's still writing these dialogues, these plays. And this is probably the era that's most well known. Big books like the Gorgias, the Republic, where what he does is Socrates takes some issue. Again, this isn't the real Socrates. This is Plato's fan fiction Socrates. Or Socrates is talking about some issue and has a conversation. These conversations didn't actually happen. With other people about some topic. What is justice? Okay, what's beauty? What's goodness? Kind of like with the Youth of Rome, except it's much more dialogical, and there's a lot of other interlocutors, but Plato's making this all up. And this is where, when I talk about Plato believes this, like those 8 things I pop up, I'm really describing the middle period. And then late Plato is all over the place. Sometimes he objects to stuff that he said before. Sometimes it seems very confusing. What's the point? I don't think it's senility. I think he's just critical of his earlier stuff. But most of what we're looking at is the middle period. I'll just say that. Generally speaking, that's good to know. So that when we're jumping around, it re-emphasizes that there's not just one place where we can go. I'm going to look at some things in the Republic, I'm going to look at some little bits of the middle period, and that's most of what's up on Blackboard. These little snippets from like the Meno or the Phaedo or what have you. So what's Plato's view? So I'm going to give you the picture, and then I'm going to explain how it works. And like I said, this is something you're not going to find one spot for this. It's kind of extrapolated from all this stuff. Plato says the universe, this world, he would use the word cosmos, is actually 2 worlds in one. And I'm going to represent them in circles. There is the world of forms, and then there's the world of appearance. Sometimes this is called particulars. I'll go ahead and say this too. What he's doing here is he's actually answering the question of who's right, Parmenides or Heraclitus? Is the universe really permanent, nothing changes, or does everything change? And his answer is yes. But it's both. At the same time, but in different ways. That's what they didn't get right. They were right. They were onto something. They're both right. It's just that they were thinking about it wrong. And this is what I mean by saying that Plato is a systematic thinker going, let's solve some problems here. Here's what he says. You, in this room, are here. This is the world of appearance. This universe, the one we're in right now, this is the one where we see stuff, we hear stuff, we smell stuff, we taste stuff, we touch stuff, and you're very much in it. Is it real? Meh. This is a downgraded reality. This is reality. You're not here, but you're from here. Ooh. Now, in one of his late works, the Timaeus, what he says is this. Basically, we all get here. I don't know if he means this as like a myth, if he means this literally or this is just a story, but in the Timaeus, one of his late writings, he says, basically, you're from here, your soul is from here. And basically what's happened, almost like by some kind of cosmic gravity, the soul that's up here gets sucked into here. When people start having sexual relations, and all of a sudden the soul shows up in a body and gets prisoned. It's almost like that carnality pulls the soul down, and all of a sudden is in some mother's womb. That's how we get here. And I'm like, does he mean that literally? I don't know. But he does mean this very much. Our souls are from here. Our bodies are from here. And we are here. And our souls are trapped here. At the prison. In the Phaedo. Not the end of the Phaedo. Because remember, in the Phaedo, what's going on? Socrates is about to die. So there's this huge chunk of the Phaedo where all of a sudden they're talking about this stuff. Because this is Plato inserting, here's what I think about death, and here's what I think about the soul. And then it's a prison, and whoa, that's why we skip straight to the end of the Phaedo. This other stuff is Plato adding some conversations that didn't occur. So that's the basic setup. All right, two worlds. This one's real. This one's almost like a copy, an echo. In fact, what we got here is matter. Physicality, the physical world is here, and the immaterial is here. What's in this world? Matter, physical stuff. What's up there? There's no physical stuff up there. It's not, again, don't think of it as spatial. When I point up there, I don't mean literally up there. It's outside and above and beyond. And up here, there's immaterial stuff. The divine, the celestial, the majestic. It's up, whatever it is, it's up there, out there. And matter is down here. This is the physical world. And matter, hule, is just this formless junk that exists. It's just stuff. It's also a sentiment that the Greeks constantly say, immaterial is good, and the material is bad. That's a Greek tendency that we see in Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. But then after Aristotle, it becomes a theme in Greek thought. It's physical, it's bad. That's why there's often an ancient Greek attitude starting with them here. Anything that involves physicality is bad. Sex, hunger and thirst, weaknesses of the body. So what's up there? What's up in the world of forms? Forms. Archetypes. Immaterial archetypes. Reality exists here. What do I mean by archetypes? Kind of like blueprints. Granted, nothing up here is physical. So let me give an example, and then we'll see if we can figure it out. Let the record show I'm pointing to a desk. What is this? A desk table. How do we know that? Now, remember that empiricism I talked about earlier? Empirics would say, you know how you know it's a table? Look at it. What's it look like? Kind of looks like a table. And Plato would say, okay, how do you know what a table is? Like, you know it when you see it. How do you know a table is a table? Do all tables look exactly the same? They do in this room. What makes a table? Like, what is it?
Legs on a flat surface.
Legs on a flat surface. So, this can't be a table because it doesn't have legs. It does have a flat surface. No, I think it's a good start. But then, have you ever seen a table? You said legs plural. Can there be a table with one leg? Can there be a table with no legs? Sure. And Plato's going to see, all right, so it's not just as simple as seeing it, like it's just one simple thing. So how do you know what a table is? And also, if you go, let's say you go into a restaurant and there's a table there that you've never seen before in your life because it's its first time before, you're not going to look at it and go, what is this mysterious object? You're going to know what it is when you see it. Plato's going to think, because of this. Because guess what? What exists here in this world of forms is there is a non-physical archetype of the table. There's a form of the table. Because up there is a non-physical, immaterial form, archetype of a table. It's up there. And what happens is, your stupid body is not good with this. Your soul, before it came here, before it got trapped in the body that it's in, up here, when it was floating around in the world of forms, everything upstairs is non-physical, it observed all the forms of everything that exists. You know everything right now. Your soul does. Your soul is almost like a SIM card. This is the cloud. This is the network up here. I think that works because that stuff's non-physical. Where's the internet? No, it's in the server. Shh. But this is the non-physical space. All the knowledge is up here. You've got the access to it. What's blocking your access? So why do sometimes I don't know what that is. Your body messes up the process of remembering. You know everything that's knowable right now. You've got it. But your stupid body trips you up. It gets in the way. Because you're enfleshed. So the idea here is, for Plato, the more you get away from having to depend on those biological bodily urges, like, eating, drinking, sexual desire, the more you can suppress those, the better off you do. Yeah, we'll get into philosophy. I want to note two things that are going on here. There's a metaphysical view. That is a view about reality and how it works. Metaphysical view and an epistemological view. So the metaphysical is the world of forms. Metaphysical, I just mean the actual setup, like the way it looks. Epistemology is how we know what we know. That's the theory that we are all souls down here that are trying to sync back up with the world of forms in our bodies. What's great, when you die, where do you go? Back here. Until someone else decides to engage in some carnal behavior and your soul gets sucked down again. So you might have been here before. Your soul, at least. Is there a sense of reincarnation here? Possibly. You might have been here before, and you're back again. And it's not that you're remembering your past lives. It's not that. It's that you remember being back in the world of forms. In fact, the epistemological view of how we know what we know, for him, is called anamnesis, which is related to the word amnesia. It's amnesia. I don't remember. Anamnesis, remembering. All knowledge is remembering. All of it. You never learn anything. You remember something. Sometimes this is fairly basic. Like, this is actually what math is. Look, I'm going to draw something on the board you've literally never seen before, because I've yet to draw it in time. What is it? What shape is it? Circle, oval. But in either case, okay, if there's a form of oval, there's something roundness, what you're doing there, with more or less precision, what you're having to do in order to determine what it is to reflect back to something that you already know. But even think about the concept of a circle. A circle is a concept. There's no perfect circle in the universe. Right? It doesn't exist. Now, we might say today, it exists in the mind as a concept. No, it's in the world of forms. There's a perfect circle up there. It's not physical, but it's there. And so all our imperfect versions down here are echoes of that. And so that's what, really, this world that we're in right now is an echo. It's a bunch of echoes of something more fixed and permanent. Something transcendent. Something immaterial, above and beyond. That's what the archetypes are. Literally, there's that arche. Remember the arche? Oh, water, air, those. Archetypes. Down here we got ectypes. What is it? Just like an echo. What happens in an echo? Is each repetition in the echo as strong as the first utterance? Hello, hello. It depreciates. That's why the scale is here. Is this world down here a good copy of this stuff up here? No. This world is a material copy of facts of the real, which is heavenly. Not heaven in the sense of in the cloud. We point up there often. Uranos. So what happens when we do art? We make a painting. Oh, you painted a picture of an apple. Is it an apple? There's a famous painting where it's a pipe, and it says in French, this is not a pipe. But we do this sometimes when we see a painting, right? Like, is this it? Is this a painting of an apple? And Plato would be raging here. No! Because even the physical apple you hold in your hands is not the real apple. The real apple's here. So art is copies of copies. Don't do it, because that's a further degradation of reality. All that kinds of artistic stuff ends up manipulating you and lies to you, like the Eleatics Parmenides were saying. So, for example, music. What's it copying? Music is nothing other than sonic geometry, by the way. It's shapes of sound. That's what it is. if you study major, minor keys, Mixolydian mode, what have you, Dorian. All the aspects of music, it's actually, it's math that you listen to. Whatever it is, regardless of genre. It makes you feel something, though. Have you ever listened to a sad song? Like something, and for you, it's something that gets you. It's or something that makes you mad, or something that gets you pumped. The sounds there actually affect you. The sound does. The sounds lie to you. Your senses are lying to you. That's another reason why art, music, yeah, the concept of cinema, but music, plays, arts, they all lie to you and mess with your feelings. Stay away from them. Remember, he used to be one of the poets. He was a musician. But now here, get away from that stuff. Coincidentally, on his deathbed, he says, please have someone come here and play some music for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue talking about the world of forms. And this setup here, how this works, some consequences of that. Have a great rest of your day. Have a good weekend, everybody.